Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Dream Job Journey, an event series from Adobe where we chat with special guests about how they achieved their dream careers. I'm your host, Jordan Danae Ellis. I'm the community manager for Adobe Express. I've also been an entrepreneur for the past 12 years, running a few different businesses and side hustles. And I'm 3 weeks away from finishing an MBA. So to any recent grads out there, I'm really excited to join you. Shout out to everyone in the chat with us. There are tons of people letting us know where they're tuning in from already. So feel free to let us know where you're watching from. I see Jesse in Sacramento, Christina from Washington, Maria from London. Hello, everyone. Feel free to also connect with each other on LinkedIn since we're all here. We have a very special event tonight. This is the 10th event in the series. So we would like to take a minute to give a huge shout out to all of the amazing people that have come on My Dream Job in the past 10 sessions. Look at this. And our guests for tonight are in this beautiful lineup too. We're going to be dropping links to follow all of them in the chat. So please feel free to celebrate them, give them lots of love in the chat. If you miss any of our previous sessions, you can watch them all on the Adobe Express LinkedIn, the Adobe Express YouTube, and also replays on LinkedIn. So we're going to share all of those links in the chat. If you missed any, please feel free to watch those. Thank you, every single guest speaker that we've had, for sharing your stories, your advice, and all around positive energy. And congrats again on landing your dream internship or dream job. All right. On to tonight, we are joined by Noelle Fall and Twin Nguyen, both amazing creatives who landed their dream jobs at Adobe. So we're going to be doing a Q&A session with both of these wonderful humans, and then they'll show us some of the cool projects that they made with Adobe Express that helped them land these amazing positions. Tonight, we also have a special challenge for you if you've joined our other dream job events. It's a little different tonight. We have an Adobe Express template to make a LinkedIn banner, which is also what Noelle and Twin will be showing us how to make later. So we have a special template for you to create in Adobe Express. We'll drop the link in the chat. There are 2 versions of Adobe Express. So you can click the link in a desktop browser and you can open the desktop version, or you can download the mobile app and open the template there. You can create a LinkedIn banner to share with us. Should take like 2 to 3 minutes, but feel free to play with it while we're talking. And we have some Adobe Express experts and our moderators in the chat to answer any questions you all have. So we'll help you out as you're creating. And then when you're finished, post your project to your LinkedIn profile. It doesn't have to be your official new banner unless you need a new banner, in which case feel free to use it. But you can just post it on your LinkedIn, tag Adobe Dream Job and express it. And then Lisa in the chat will be connecting with you to send you a giveaway, which is very exciting. The first 50 people who post their LinkedIn banner from this template will receive a special prize. We have beanies and fanny packs. We have 50 of those, and then 4 of those 50 will receive a one-on-one mentoring session with Noelle or Twin and 1 year of Creative Cloud. So I know that was a lot. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat. But basically, we'll be dropping this template link. I'm going to show you in just a second how to do it. So feel free to follow along with me, and then we'll dive into a Q&A with Noelle and Twin. And I'm so excited to chat with both of you. This is the template that you'll be opening, and I'm going to try to do this in 2 minutes to show you how quick and easy it is to use. So first of all, this is on desktop. I'm going to swap out this photo, replace it with a picture of me, obviously. Feel free to swap it out for your own photo. I also use Adobe Express a lot. So I already have my brand uploaded into my account, which you can do if you like. So my brand colors are right here already, which makes this nice and easy for me. It's just clicking on these shapes that I want to change. I like the font actually, but you can swap out the font. I'm gonna type my name here and make these colors not look quite so wild. Swap this out for my actual job. And then I really like the leaf icons here, but that doesn't really like do anything related to my business. So I'm going to hit replace, search for some design assets that I feel like are a little more personal to me. I love stars. My brand always has sort of a sort of a galactic feel. So I'm going to swap it out for this. And that's literally it. You can get as creative as you want, or you can be as basic as this. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Noelle and Twin, thanks for bearing with me through that intro. So good to have you both here. And you are both from Adobe, which is so exciting. We are very happy to be here with both of you. Let's start first with just introducing yourselves, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about like what your job is at Adobe and your internship, if you'd like. Let's start with Twin.
Hi everyone, my name is Twin, and I am a recent graduate from UCLA. I studied cognitive science, but a little bit about me, like a little background information. I was studying biology for 3 years before I moved over to cognitive science. Yeah, but in my third year, I was like, it's time for me to get my stuff together because that's when I realized I didn't really have that much of a passion for medicine. And so I spent the last year switching over to cognitive science and really grinding. And I was able to land an internship at Adobe as a growth marketing manager, where I actually worked with Jordan during the summer. So we knew each other from then. And I was offered a full time position as a growth marketer on Adobe Express. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about my career background. Outside of that, I also make videos on TikTok, like cute little baking coffee ASMR. So if you are really into that, there's a good chance you might have seen my videos. Um, yeah, but outside of both TikTok and Adobe, I love doing anything that pops up in my head, whatever goes on in my mind that day, whether it's like candle making, gardening, yeah, just basically anything. And so, yeah, that's a little intro about me.
Thank you so much. And we're dropping links to follow both of you in the chat. So if that type of like baking ASMR sounds good to you, please follow Twin on TikTok.
Some self promo, I see.
That's great. How about you, Noelle?
I'm definitely going to follow you on TikTok. I love scrolling for hours. But hi, everyone. My name is Noelle. I am a current graduate from the University of Alabama. I studied marketing and my self-designed minor, diversity, equity, and inclusion there. And from there, I was an Adobe campus ambassador through my sophomore year, through my senior year. And now I've been able to do an internship doing experience content strategy for accessibility and inclusivity. I actually see my manager here in the chat. So hi, Andy, shout out. Thank you for coming. That's really cool. And I've actually got an offer for the same team, same position, working with Adobe in San Francisco. So I'm very excited. I actually start 2 months from today. So yeah.
Amazing. So nice to officially, meet you both and introduce you to the audience. And I have a few questions for the two of you, but if anyone in the chat has questions for Twin and Noelle, please drop them and I would love to ask them. I'm curious, how did you both come across your internship or your current role? But I'm assuming you both actually landed the job where you had your internship. So unless there's something interesting about that trajectory, if you want to let us know how you found your first internship.
Do you want to go first, Noelle, and then I can go?
Sure. So I guess I kind of found out about the internship through the ambassador program. Like I said earlier, I was an ambassador for Adobe, which is an awesome program. I think everybody should sign up for it if it's offered at your school. But essentially, that gave me the chance to show off Adobe to different students who didn't even know it was free. So on some campuses, Adobe is free for students. So I would do workshops showing them how to create a portfolio or, doing something like this, showing people how to create LinkedIn banners. So through that internship or through the Adobe ambassadorship, we had our own recruiter. So I kind of gave my resume to them and I guess the internship kind of happened like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like my story is not that helpful because fortunately for me, a recruiter from Adobe actually reached out to me. But I guess the silver lining in that it's like to just leave your resume at very like reputable places and websites. Like don't put your resume everywhere because you're just gonna get scammed. But put your resume on like Handshake, Canvas.io, whatever it is, and then there's a good chance that if recruiters are on that platform and they're looking for interns or just full-time offers, you might get, you might be the one that they recruit. So yeah.
I think that's really great advice. Like, obviously, you can't will that to happen, but that is being proactive about like no one's gonna find your resume if it's not
Yeah.
out there, or no one
Yeah.
is gonna, find you if you're not networking at all. So I think
Yeah.
that's really good advice.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome. When did you both know that you wanted to pursue a career at Adobe?
But I can go
If there
first.
isn't like a specific moment, that's okay too.
I think for me, it was during my first round interviews and my last round interviews when I got to talk to my hiring manager. And during the interview itself, like he probably asked me like one question, but the whole entire time we were just kind of talking like, and it was an actual genuine conversation. It wasn't like an interview. And so I think being able to connect to him there was really nice. And even now that he's left Adobe, I still hit him up and I'm like asking for advice and I bug him from time to time. And my last interview, which is with my manager during this past summer, I think I got to realize like it was kind of like the same thing where the conversation was very genuine. And I was like, you know what, even if I don't get this internship, I'm really glad that I got to talk to her, got to hear some of her advice, and I got to like practice my interview skills. But I think definitely when I realized, oh yeah, like being at Adobe would be really fun was like after like talking to the people.
Cool.
I have to completely agree with that. I messaged a lot of people on LinkedIn whenever I found out I had the first round interview, just trying to like get to know the culture and get to know the people who are at Adobe already. So in every one of the conversations, every one of the messages that I sent to people who worked at Adobe currently, I think everyone replied, which is kind of rare if you're just like cold calling, just, trying to add people on LinkedIn, but everybody replied. Everybody was super nice. Everybody was very willing to, have conversations with me on the side or help me out in any way that I could be helped. So just seeing that from the perspective of I'm not even really in Adobe. I am an Adobe ambassador, but I'm not, really in Adobe, but they're still kind of taking me in or being nice in a way and supporting me through what I was doing. I thought that was really cool. And that's what brought me to the point where I'm at.
That's awesome. You all are getting so many props in the chat. I just wanted to take a second. Frankie says, Noelle, you're an inspiration. Thank you. Elizabeth seconds that Handshake is great for current students. So that's wonderful. Lisa says, we love our student ambassadors. And there's, I don't know if you both can see the chat. There's just like, go Noelle, I love your TikTok. So chat is on your side, which is wonderful. Zainab asks, I'm a recent grad student looking for full-time opportunities in the creative industry. Any advice for me?
I think 100% network. I think that's something that a lot of people say, but very few people do. Because obviously, it's very scary to like hit up a random person on the internet and be like, hey, can you take 30 minutes out of your day to talk to me? But I mean, if you're not going to shoot your shot, then you're never going to, get it. And so even if, like you hit up 10 people and all 9 of them reject you, at least one person is willing to give you their time. And I think that one connection, as cheesy as it is, and like you will hear this over and over, but you kind of only need one connection to like make it. But you just have to accept that you're gonna go through a lot of like rejection in the beginning, but it's gonna be worth it. And so yeah, network.
I agree. Building your network is extremely important, sometimes more important than what's on your resume. So connecting with different people who are currently in that industry, I think is very helpful. Also, maybe even finding a mentor, finding somebody who is working the job that you want to work, maybe having somebody who's in a similar role or just somebody who has a foot in the door, somebody who can talk you through like applying for different jobs and applications and what to do, what not to train for if you're doing certifications. I think having a mentor really does play a huge role. And also one thing that I've kind of learned from my friends who kind of also want to go into the creative space is a lot of people don't have a portfolio, which you don't need a portfolio, don't get me wrong. But coming from a marketing, diversity, equity, and inclusion type of major minor, I didn't really think that I needed a portfolio. I didn't really see the point of having it because every portfolio I've ever seen has always been, pictures or, the artwork that these people have been able to do, which is awesome, but that's not exactly what I specialize in. But I ended up making a portfolio anyway, and I kind of just put different projects that I worked on throughout college, different, like for example, Adobe ambassadors, all the work that I did, I posted it on my portfolio. And it was just a really concise way for employers or whoever might be recruiting me to see all of the work that I've been able to do. And I do think it really makes you stand out because a lot of people don't have portfolios or maybe their portfolios aren't updated. So I think that having a portfolio really does let you have a chance to be creative, show your creative side, and also displays your work in a better length and a better way than just a resume.
Yeah, I want to third, I guess, your recommendation for networking. We talked a little bit before the event, and that's 100% how I got this job too. Tonight is not about me, but someone I met, 6 years ago who did not work at Adobe then became friends, and then the job opened up and she thought I would be a perfect fit, and I'm very happy for that. So just to speak to, I feel like a lot of the advice you both are giving is like, it's not necessarily super linear. Like you can do things that will serve you down the line, whether you can like guarantee that one thing is going to be the thing. So I think that's very good advice to remember. Rachel says, I think I enjoy being outside of Adobe and just using the programs, but it's great to see Adobe hiring so many kinds of people. Taylor says, great advice, going to create a portfolio right now. And Adobe portfolio has been great for me. So that's something that you all can look into also. I know you both talked about this a little bit and how you got your internships, but do you have any specific like internship application tips for folks at any company who are looking for an internship and like starting to apply?
One tip I guess I would give personally is try to just go on LinkedIn and let's say you want to go for a diversity and inclusion role. I would just say to just look up people who might have gone to the same school as you, might have been in the same sorority or fraternity as you, and just try to find a connection point and try to connect with that person. And they don't even have to be a mentor. Maybe you can just ask them a few questions or maybe do an informal interview where you're just asking them questions about what they do in their field, how they were able to do it, how they were able to get into it. I think that is a really good way of kind of getting your foot in the door and at least having somebody at that company know who your name is.
Yeah, going off Noel, I feel like having a referral to a really big company, especially like Adobe or like Google or Amazon or anything, is super helpful because they're probably getting thousands of applications a day, and most likely, more than not, they're like no, like there's not a real person that's actually reading it. And so getting a referral kind of like puts your resume like on top of other candidates. And so yeah, it goes back to the networking as well. But I think outside of just like networking and getting referrals, because it's still very much possible to get through the application process without it, is just to tailor your resume to each and every one of the job descriptions. Because, like change it up every single time, because you might be interested in 2 roles, but that doesn't mean you should use the same resume because both resumes are going to tell 2 different stories. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it does take a little extra work, but I think it's always worth it.
Very tedious, but it's like in the long run, it's like maybe it's worth it.
And I think showing that you're willing to put in that work is a great thing. Like you don't want to say, I'm not willing to like change this resume, so don't worry, I'll work really hard. Taylor says, I used the LinkedIn tip for my current internship and it definitely worked, which is amazing. And then Ariel says, that's great advice. I feel like sometimes I can be afraid to lean into connections when applying. Do you all have anything to like, have you had experience with that where you are like nervous to cash in on a connection, or like how to, I guess, do you have any like ways to hype yourself up to actually go out and network if you're nervous about it?
I think for me, it comes from a place of like genuinely wanting to know this person and know their story of like, oh yeah, how did they get here? Because there was one time I hit up this Lyft recruiter, and so like obviously I went on her LinkedIn, I looked that she went from like law to being in tech, and so I sent her like a little cold message, and I was like, hey, I saw that you went from law to tech. I'm trying to pivot from like medical to tech. Like, do you have some time just to talk? Because like I think that your transition into tech or like your career journey is really interesting. And she got back to me and she's like, I have over like 600 messages from like students right now, and you're the only
Wow.
one that I opened up because you took the time out to kind of like look at, you know, my background and tell me why you're interested to talk to me. So I think, you know, just be genuine in like who you want to talk to. Don't talk to them just because you're like, oh, they can give you a referral. But because I think people can tell like if you're there because you're actually interested in them as a person versus like, oh yeah, this person only wants a referral. So yeah.
I don't think I have anything to add to that. I think that was worded perfectly.
Great. Amazing job, Twin. Yeah, no, I totally agree too. I guess I'm curious if you both have an answer to this question. Obviously, you did land the internship and then the job, but if you could start over, is there anything you would do differently, or where would you start first? I guess if you had to go back and do it again, what would be the first thing you would do?
Go back as in like during the recruiting days, or go back to like the beginning of Adobe, or
I
like
think
both?
like whatever you think is most interesting is cool. I mean, yeah, if you have like if there's something, if you would go back to like, before you even got your internship and do something differently, or if there's anything maybe in the process that you're like, oh, it worked out, but I do wish I
Yeah.
had like known this before. It's a big question, so it's okay if you don't have
I think
anything that stands out.
for me, I would say I would be kinder to myself because I'm definitely the type of person where if I don't get something, I'm very, very hard on myself. Because there was a very long period of time where I would wake up and be anxious and be like, you're so unsuccessful. You don't even have an internship or like anything like that. And that was like a constant, like every single day I would wake up and that would be the first thought in my head. But if I were to go back, I'd just be like, be nicer to yourself. Like everything is going to work out in the end. At the end of the day, it's just an internship. It's only a job, like it's not the rest of your life. And so getting like that prestige, getting whatever does not dictate like who you are as a person, and you are successful with or without it. So yeah, I personally would be like, you know what, be kinder to myself and stop being so mean to myself.
I love that. I love that.
I would have to say I've been trying to like sit here and think about what I would do differently, but honestly, I think being a part of the Adobe Ambassadors program is something that I wouldn't change. I honestly can't think of something that I would change. But if I guess I had to alter something, I would probably have reached out to the recruiter that the ambassadors have at a sooner time. That could have definitely helped me get into, I guess, more roles or get my resume seen by more managers. But other than that, I think my process has been amazing.
That's great. That is wonderful. If anyone has any questions for these two in the chat, please feel free to ask. We have some more time and I'm happy to answer any questions. And also, I've seen people asking, but if you have any questions about remixing your templates or need any help with that, let us know. I wanted to, Andy agrees with what both of you are saying and says that being genuine is so key. I'm a sometimes hiring manager, and I think candidates really stand out when they're authentic and human. So great advice, like as personal and as real, I guess, as you can be, is amazing. This is a different version of this question, but what advice would you give your younger self who is like just starting on this journey? I know, Twin, you changed majors halfway through your career, which is amazing. Like any advice that you would, go back in time and give yourself if you could? Or Noel, you can go first too.
I would tell myself like the same thing, like be kind to yourself and that everything will be okay. Because when I first started, I was a third year in college. Everything on my resume was related to medical, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why are these people even going to care that a biology major is applying to like these business and these tech roles? And so I kind of went ham. Like, I think during my first round of recruiting, I sent out at least probably like 70 plus applications. Yeah, but it's still that super hard on myself mindset where it's like, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to do this and that. But yeah, like if I could go back in time to tell myself anything, like it's going to be okay. Like I promise you're going to be fine. Like, yeah.
I think if I had to go back, and I think this is just college in general because it's all around the same time, I probably would have put a little less stress on myself. I think I put a little too much stress on myself, as in trying to, I guess, like, get the full college experience. Like, I wanted to be in every club. I wanted to have every experience. I wanted to do everything. And so I think about junior year, I realized like that's not possible. That's not going to be successful for me right now or even in the future. So I think just earlier on, just telling myself you don't have to be a part of everything to get the college experience or to feel like you fit in,
Yeah, I love that. Taylor asks, what attracted you all to Adobe as your dream company?
I'd have to say the people again. The people.
Not gonna lie, I remember
I have no idea what you're gonna say. Now I'm nervous.
So I remember when I was first recruiting, I didn't know a lot about tech companies and stuff. Like my friends made a passing comment like, yo, I heard Adobe is hiring. Like I heard they're lit. Like they pay really well. Like their culture is really nice. Like they have really good perks. And like that was just a passing comment. But in my head, I was like, dude, that sounds really cool. But yeah, I think the more that I looked into it, it just seemed like a fun place to be. So, and it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with both of you. Like, I definitely didn't grow up like thinking Adobe was the perfect job for me. And then getting in the door, it totally is. And I think that's maybe something also to have folks in the chat and watching think about. Like, jobs are more than just at the surface what you think. Like you said, culture and the people is huge. So like asking those types of questions while you're interviewing or paying attention in your internship to like the things that are maybe not as surface level, which I think you both called out, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say I think being at Adobe made me realize how much I value my time and that I'm not constantly stressed 24/7 because I know that a lot of my friends, whether it's in different industries or different companies, and I hear about them being stressed or working 60, 80 hours a week, I'm just like, I'm so grateful to be where I'm at because I'm not constantly stressed. And I think that's a really big thing and an importance that I had to realize from being here. And so, yeah, 100% culture and people.
Yeah, I'll plus one that. I was like, oh my God, I'm not working 60 hours a week. This is very nice. Everyone I knew in New York was just like hustle, hustle, hustle. Not that we don't work hard, but that is a really important thing to pay attention to because that affects your entire life.
It does. Like work-life balance is so important. It's crazy.
Yeah. Brennan asked a very interesting question that I would love to know the answer to. Did you submit a formal, quote unquote, boring formatted resume when you applied to Adobe? Or did you do something like more unique and creative?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I sent in the boring, like has all of the information ever that you could ever want to read about me, but resume. But I do have a kind of cool looking graphic design resume that I will sometimes take into interviews. I haven't actually gotten the chance to do this because of virtual, can't really take a piece of paper in there, but I do have that logo or kind of like the logo theme of what is on that resume on my website. So if they're looking at my portfolio, let's say, they'll be able to see what it looks like.
Yeah, for me, like I said before, the recruiter actually reached out to me first. So I'm pretty sure she kind of knew my background and stuff, but I did end up having to like submit like that old boring form you were talking about. But I think a funny thing is like if you have something that you're interested in and it's like super unrelated, I think you should, it's still kind of worth mentioning, because for me, for example, like I'm applying to a tech job and there was a portion of that said, oh, can you link your website? And I linked my website and it was like a baking recipe website. But, you know, so far it works out because people are always asking about it. Cause it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. You, like completely unrelated, but you know, you have these hobbies that you're willing to share. So yeah.
Yeah, you can sprinkle your personality in, even if the formatting is
100%,
maybe not so exciting.
100%.
Deandra asks, how important for your career growth has working at a company like Adobe been that values creativity so much? If neither of you have an answer to that, I can ask a different question too, because some of these are like kind of hard to answer on the fly.
Okay, can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, it's how important basically has a company that values creativity so much been to your career journey, which also you both are early in your career journey too. So it's okay if you like don't have an answer to that yet.
I think I have an answer for that. I think it's important to kind of know who you are and what your values are. And for me, like having time to be creative and stuff is one of them. And so I'm just grateful in general that the culture at Adobe is is relatively more chill. So I get to pursue all those things that I want. But if you're more of like a type A, like super fast paced person, then you know, you might want to find a company that suits that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that specifically within the minor that I had in college, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that wasn't something that you could just sign up to take. I kind of like built that all on my own, and I actually did my own class with it. So as far as my education, I felt like that was somewhat creative, even though other colleges do offer diversity, equity, and inclusion. The way I was able to choose the classes and my reasoning for some of the classes that I was in was really fun for me to kind of build and create. And I kind of felt the same thing whenever I fell into this role here at Adobe, specifically doing inclusive design and accessibility. During my internship, I was able to work on projects that helped promote. I'm not sure exactly what I can say specifically about it just because of legal stuff, but just to give an overview, one of the things that we were able to work on was kind of just a video that told Adobe users about some of the products that were kind of amping up to make them more inclusive. So, for example, I talked to someone in the Australia office, actually, which was pretty cool. And we talked about how they were actually making emojis for people who aren't hyper masculine or hyper feminine. So, you know, stuff like that, just being a part of things in that nature and things that really excite me was something that I was very excited about in coming to Adobe. I hadn't seen any other job or internship, especially that kind of focused specifically with what I was wanting to work with.
Wait, that's really cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, thank you.
I have one more question before we go to demos. And Noelle, because of what you just said, which is that you might not be able to talk about that many things. It's okay if you can't answer. But Zinnia asked, what is something that you are proud to have worked on at Adobe that you can share? So if there's nothing public you can share, that's okay. But I think Twin at least has some public projects that you could answer.
Yeah, so for my summer internship last year, I was working on previously Adobe Spark, which is now known as Adobe Express. And one of the campaigns I basically spearheaded was like I wanted to focus more on like Gen Z for like their social media campaigns. And so one of the campaigns that I launched was to create videos that were catered more towards like very calming ASMR TikTok types videos, because there was like the gap there that Adobe wasn't in the game yet. And so I was like, guys, trust me, like these videos are going to do really well. Yeah. And so they took a chance on me and the videos ended up doing really well, actually. And I think that's why I'm here right now, is because I had that foresight. And I think, yeah, so that's a project that I'm really proud of, because, yeah, I was just like, you know, catered more towards Gen Z. And then obviously I'm Gen Z. So yeah, it made sense.
That's awesome. And I love your videos. So I appreciate that was your project. We did that together, which was awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think, Noelle? Is there anything you feel like you can share?
Yeah, for sure. I'll just be very, I guess, general or
be as vague as you need to be.
Yeah. But one of the projects that I was able to work on, it was actually the first project that I was introduced to because I did quite a few. But the project that I'm specifically referring to was a project working closely with Premiere Pro. So if any of you guys use Premiere Pro, or if maybe you don't know what that is, it's a video editing app within Adobe. Quite hard to use. I had to learn how to use it on my internship. So that was pretty fun. But within that app, there is this new feature that had come out, and it essentially made it to where, let's say we're recording this video right now. If we were to put it into Premiere, it would automatically make subtitles or captions. So you wouldn't have to like manually do it yourself, because that's typically been the norm for a long time. Super cool, super interesting. And the preservation project was going to take place within Premiere. I'm sorry if that's a little confusing. I'm just trying to keep it as vague as I can, but
totally
it was just,
get it.
Yeah, it was just a cool project where we were able to speak to people of an indigenous language and help preserve their language within Premiere.
That is awesome. We're going to show the demos of, you both made LinkedIn banners and did a demo of that, which I'm very excited to show, like the difference in what you both decided to create. So we're going to show Noelle's demo first, and we'll play it and you can talk through it as we go. But is there anything you wanted to say before we press play on, like, about what you made, or anything you want to say before we hit go?
I don't think so. Perfect.
Yeah.
So just as far as creating a LinkedIn banner within this app, it's super, super easy. Honestly, easier than I thought it would be originally. So here I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the different templates. I ended up going to logos and then going to monograms. I really like this specific one. I thought it was simple, but would work perfect for a LinkedIn banner. So the first thing that I did was I went to resize and I clicked on LinkedIn. I would definitely do this before you start editing, because it will drastically change everything. Once you change it in, you should just change it first. So I moved the logo to the right side, because usually if you look on the web version, your picture is on the left side. So I wanted my logo to be on the right so that people could clearly see it. So essentially what I was doing was I was trying to type my name, and I was trying to retype the dots that were included, you see on this original logo, and I realized I couldn't copy it because it wasn't on my keyboard. So ended up just changing out my name here and inserting it there. I thought it looked pretty cute.
It is cute.
I love it.
Thank you. And so after I did that, I believe I went in and changed the middle initial so that it'd say Noelle. I think I had to end up ungrouping this combination, because every time I clicked on it, it would just click back to the Noelle file. So if you have that issue where you're trying to click something specifically, like something in the middle of something, then definitely try to ungroup them and then just reposition whatever figure you had moved originally. And that was pretty much it as far as the design goes. Very simple, very quick. I think that took like 2-3 minutes. And the last thing that I'm doing here is just kind of readjusting the circle back. And lastly, I'm just going to come over here and redo the colors as well. You'll see that in a second.
I'm honestly all about very simple designs, so I love, you don't have to be wild to like make a good design.
I agree. And I love this switch up feature. It's so perfect because it just automatically gives you options, because I'm very indecisive personally. And this helps so much, because I would have been sitting here for 10 hours like, which color should I choose?
I felt that.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said I felt that.
Yeah. And so I thought it was a little more plain than I wanted it to be. So I just ended up adding a few little stars.
Wait, Noelle, I used those stars during mine too, which is crazy because
really?
we did see each other's.
They're really good stars, so great choice, everyone.
I know.
Oh, I saw someone asked if I was using Express on an iPad. I was.
Cool. Oh yeah, we should say that there's mobile, but also tablet and desktop.
And I think that should be the end.
Yeah. That was 3 minutes. So excellent. That's honestly my favorite thing about Express 2 is that it is so fast. It's really amazing. And that's such a great design. Thank you so much for sharing that. Especially if someone has more of like a minimal brand, then you don't have to go overboard with your design, which is great.
Yeah.
Twin. So if anyone in the chat has any questions about Adobe Express, I see that our moderators are answering a ton of questions, which is great. And we would love to see any of the designs that you all are making with your templates as we go into Twin's demo. Is there anything you want to say up front about yours?
I saw somebody ask that what their favorite Adobe product was, and I was going to say that mine's Express because that's the product I work on and I am proud of it. But it's it's really cool. Like you get to do so many things even if you're not a designer, and I think that's like the best part.
I will agree with that. For anyone who feels intimidated by Adobe products, which they aren't all intimidating, but this is a very nice way to like ease in as a fellow non-pro designer. Okay, cool. I'm going to hit play.
Yeah, so you just kind of go in, choose whichever banner you wanted. And for me, I was kind of going for a more like younger vibe because I know a lot of people on LinkedIn are like,
not younger,
a bit older. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm going to have fun with this. And so I chose this gradient background because I really like the soft pastel colors. But there's a lot of features on Express itself where you get to like remove background, you get to do all these things. And it's crazy because it's like powered by Photoshop, like some parts of it. So it's like, why wouldn't you use it? Because it's free. And then other parts of it is like powered by Premiere. And again, why wouldn't you use it? And so that's why I really like Express because there's so many things that you can do with it. And especially if you're like a small business owner or like a content creator, we have this thing coming out that's called Content Scheduler where you can like schedule your own content, like especially if you're on vacation or something. That's really cool because I know a lot of people want to kind of like create their own content, want to start, investing in their online selves. So I think Express is a really good starting point. And I added a lot of emojis because I was like, emojis are cute. So
Deandra just asked in the chat, how do you add a gradient background? Do you want to say how you found this one?
Oh yeah, you just go on the photos and then just search up gradient and you just click on it and then you just add it to the background. It's really easy. It's very easy to use. Yeah. And so I'm adding all my baking socials and then choosing a font.
I love the choice of emojis, by the way.
Thank you. They resonate with me a lot. Search up stars and stuff and then, yeah.
Resizing icons is one of my favorite hacks. Like you can just use the actual same thing and make them different sizes and it adds like a great dimension to your design. Some love in the chat. Emojis are life. I love your design so much. So cute.
Thank you. I was like, I hope people who go on my profile don't think I'm like too immature for this because it's a very cute design.
I don't think so.
And not very professional.
I mean, I think it's all about what job you're looking for too, right? Like not everything is super serious. So if you're in a creative field, I think it makes a lot of sense to be creative with everything you're doing.
You're right. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. So nice to see your designs. And I think that also just shows the power of even like using templates or starting from scratch, how different projects can be with the same tools is very cool. One last reminder to drop the link to your LinkedIn post with the hashtags Adobe Dream Job and hashtags Express It for a chance to be randomly selected for a one-on-one mentoring session with Noelle and Twin. So I'm so excited for 4 people who get to have that. That's very cool. And also a year of Creative Cloud. So My last question is, if folks were to take one important thing away from this stream, aka your final piece of advice, what would it be? You've given so much good advice from this whole thing, so I think everyone is going to give. I mean, everyone's taking a lot away from this, so
I think maybe this is just kind of advice for myself, but if it resonates with anybody else, that the school that you come from, your job, how much you make, the title and all that does not determine how like your success or your worth. And I think for a very long time I put that on a really, really big pedestal from like the school I came from, the jobs I was able to get, and these name brand things that were like super shiny and flashy. But at the end of the day, it's like that's not what truly matters. It's what matters is like, oh yeah, like are you at least like content at this job, you know? And another thing is like your job isn't your life. And I think as a desperate college student, I was just like, once you get this, like you're gonna be set. Like everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna, work out the way that everything has or is supposed to. But yeah, your job, your internship, your career is not your life. And so yeah, and your self-worth is dictated so much more than these like tangible things. So yeah, I think that's one thing I would say.
my favorite thing about these dream job events in general, like I haven't been to all 10, I don't think, but I am not seeking a new career at this moment, thankfully. But so much of the advice that you and the past guests have given are so relevant to like any, like, this isn't just for fresh out of college kids. Like that is very good life advice. And a lot of the things you both have said is very good life advice. So thank you. Lots of agreements in the chat. Speaking the truth right now, I agree. So thank you, Twin.
Yes.
Noelle, what about you?
I agree again with everything that you just said. But one thing I will have to add is, I guess, just summing up everything that we've talked about today is use LinkedIn to your advantage. LinkedIn is your friend. Don't be shy to use it. Don't be shy to reach out to people just because you don't necessarily know them. I think a lot of my success has come from LinkedIn. I talked about being an Adobe Campus Ambassador, but I was reached out to by a recruiter on LinkedIn. And if I hadn't been checking the platform, I definitely would not have known about it. And I don't even know if I'd be here today if it weren't for, me consistently checking LinkedIn, trying to message people and just trying to connect with other people. So with all that being said, I think that especially if you're in college, but even if you aren't in college, I feel like connecting through LinkedIn and using it as a tool is going to be so helpful as far as getting a job.
100%, yeah.
And one follow-up question too. Elizabeth asked, what's your favorite Adobe product outside of Adobe Express? Which I think is a fair question. So
she knew to add in that last part. She knew.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Adobe product separately from the one we're all here talking about?
I love Lightroom. I use it all the time on like my Instagram pictures and stuff. And it's a really good way to just kind of know more about photography because there's so many capabilities. This sounds like an ad. It's not an ad. But
we're allowed to talk about Adobe products on this Adobe stream about working at Adobe, so that's okay.
Yeah, but if you're definitely into aesthetics, into like those type of things, Lightroom is for free. So yeah, it's worth checking out. I really love it.
I think Lightroom is such a good answer because I use it so often that it's kind of my second camera roll. Yeah, so I wasn't even thinking about it when I thought of like my favorite Adobe products because I use it so often. It's kind of like calling the photo, album of your iPhone like your favorite, But anyway, besides that, I would have to say Illustrator. I used Illustrator quite often. I'm not a professional graphic designer by any means, but I just kind of like to sit on my iPad with my Apple Pencil and kind of just draw shapes and watch it turn into something that's cool to me.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think, none of us are professional designers, so that just goes to show too that you don't have to be a pro trained designer to start creating things and designing things. Personally, that's why I love Adobe Express, because it makes me feel like my designs are great even though I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I just wanted to share like a couple other great job, Noelle. This is such a good aesthetic. Thank you both. So lots of love in the chat for both of you. And we're dropping the links of where to follow Noelle and Twin. So please continue to follow them on social. And again, thank you both so much for being here and chatting with us. And I'm lucky I get to work with both of you. So this isn't the end for me, which is really nice.
We're lucky because Jordan is an amazing host.
Oh, thank
and
you.
Community manager.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to hang out with me, I'm in the Adobe Express online communities all the time, so you can join our Facebook or Discord. But actually, that is perfect because we also have a Discord for the Creative Careers server, which Andrea is going to drop the link in the chat. Also going to drop the link for the Adobe Express YouTube, so you can watch this. If you missed any part of tonight, there will be a replay here on LinkedIn, but it'll also be on the Adobe Express YouTube. So you can watch this over and share with your friends. And it'll also link to all of the other Dream Job events, which is lovely. We would also love to have your feedback on this event so we can make them better for next season. This is our season finale, but we will be back. So we would love to get your input and your suggestions for next season. So please, if you have a moment, fill out that survey. That wraps up this session. Thank you again so much, Twin and Noelle, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching and hanging out in the chat. This is like, because we have sort of a special grand finale, we're going to give you all a few more minutes to work on your LinkedIn templates. If you are still working on those, you still have some time to drop them in the chat. We're going to play a special video that is a little bit of a summary of all of the past events that we've had. And then I think we'll update it to add you two at the end of today. So feel free if you want to stay and watch that. And
a quick little shout out. Thank you to Meg and Andrea for being here and being behind the scenes. They've worked really, really hard. You guys can only see us, but there's a bunch of people that put this into life, and so they're worth acknowledging. And yeah.
Yes. And we should also
Jordan. Sorry, I was just shouting you out. You've been an awesome host.
I was just about to say we should shout out Katrina, who the reason I'm here tonight is because she's traveling, filming other things, but she's been an incredible host through this whole series. So we miss her dearly. But if you miss Katrina a lot, you can just see her on the Adobe Express YouTube. She's there all the time.
Go follow the YouTube. I work on it.
Yeah, we all do. So if you miss us, you can just find us there, which is lovely. Okay, that was a perfect way to end it. Thanks for doing that, you two. And yeah, let's just I think that's it. We'll drop all the links to follow you both in the chat. Thank you again for being here. And we will play this video as soon as we say goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Now you're at Nintendo, at literally one of your dream companies. Patience is key, really. I hope people in chat were taking notes because that was a nugget. Now it's your turn to chat Adobe Express. Mic drop right there.
I can just splat my logo on whatever I create. And yeah, it's so fun and easy. Showing that you're passionate in resumes, interviews, that's like what ultimately got me my role. I'm just really excited to be where I am today.
I do all of this with my mouse on my laptop, so you don't need any fancy equipment. It's kind of like it's reading my mind. Like, it knows what I want to do, and then it meets me there. There are no rules. Like, you are the creator, so create.
And so I started my sophomore year. I wish I would have started my freshman year because experience is everything. Don't be afraid to apply for those opportunities that you know you want. Even if you don't meet all the requirements, still do it. You never know where you'll wind up.
And it suddenly really just clicked. Fashion is what it is. And she was like, you have a good eye. And then offered me an internship. Once in a lifetime, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
A good thing I say is like preparation means opportunity.
With your hobbies, you can always speak to them in interviews and put them on your portfolio and resume and such. And so school's kind of the only time in your life where you'll have mandated winter or summer break. Don't be afraid to use that time to your advantage and do things you love.
GIFs are amazing. Everyone loves GIFs. So that's how you can use Express to make portfolio ready assets. It's super easy. you can show your evolution, and nothing is more powerful than showing that you have the ability to learn from your mistakes and improve.
I want to be good at design. I want to be good at designing like amazing web experiences and personalizing journeys. But I kind of had to be comfortable with the fact that I don't know where to start. I wish I would have discovered Express when I was in college, because that would have made my life so much easier.
And then I can save them as a template and use these for any other carousel I want if I want to introduce someone else or have like design content. I would just like focus on just getting to know someone and like making a new friend. Don't be discouraged, which is okay. It just takes one yes.
First, form a really clear story about who you are. I have this XYZ quality. You as a company are looking for XYZ qualities. So if I get this job, I could bring that value to your company.
Under the Shapes tab for text, they just already pre-populate it with little icons. The key focus here is making sure your career will last in the long run. And making a career last in the long run means taking adequate breaks and taking care of yourself.
It's so easy to like move the layers on Express. It didn't take me that much time at all. Stay true to yourself. People want to hire you for you. You are something special. There's only one you. And if you're not going to be you, then what's the point?
Tailor your resume to the role. Like, don't just stuff everything. Have like a hyperlink to your LinkedIn, right? That's going to tell more of your story. If you have a passion in tech, show it.
And especially with Gen Z consumers, like there's a lot of opportunity for us because companies want to know how to reach us. Always be your authentic self, no matter where you are, because authenticity and being genuine goes a long way.
I don't know what I don't know, but I know that I want to learn it all. People ask all the time, who makes them? How do you do this? It's just me.
No,
it's just little me. Creative Cloud Express.
You never know what opportunity is going to be on your doorstep tomorrow. So for me, it's definitely taking the leap, but I'm willing to learn in the process, right? I'll say yes and then learn how, so then I can take the opportunity and learn something from it.
The faster you fail, the sooner you succeed. It wouldn't be complete and cute without hearts. And then center it, and that is the finished product. Super simple. And again, it took me like 5-6 minutes to make.
Any way that I can market myself and what I'm currently working on is something that companies love to see. Leveraging your LinkedIn and how can you put your best foot forward. And there you are. Voila, a LinkedIn banner in 7 minutes.